Tom's personality. He is energetic. Easiest way to explain Tom would be he doesn't have an enemy or a stranger in the world.
Morris. I mean, passionate, energetic, optimistic. The glass is half full for Tom.
Infectious personality. You know, you meet a guy, he never knows a stranger type guy. You know what I mean?
Think of a young child in a man's body on a lot of sugar, and that would be Tom.
On May 17, 2012, Indiana strength and conditioning coach Tom Morris was in a severe bike accident, causing extreme damage to his spinal cord and paralyzing him from the chest down. No one knew if he would ever get out of his wheelchair again, but Tom did. Tom Morris not only believed that he would walk again, but believed down to his inner core that he would one day end up back on a bike.
I remember, getting obviously up that morning, going out, getting the training ride in, and then basically on the fourth lap of this training ride, actually flipping over the handlebars, seeing the ground come up, and from there, everything is pretty much right there. I never really lost consciousness or anything like that, and I could recall almost everything about the accident.
I crumbled. He's my world. Sorry. The first couple days, it was weird when I wasn't with him. I wouldn't even take breaks. The only time I left Tom would be to go to the restroom or to take a breather, and that's when it was the hardest. When I was with Tom, he made everything okay.
There's no blueprint for recovery from a spinal cord injury. Each individual is different, and every patient creates their own goals and decides for themselves just how far they can go. It was no surprise then, to those people who knew Morris the best, that Tom would not just aim high, but completely defy the odds on how far one person can go.
Tom is a person that if someone tells him he can't, he's going to prove them wrong. The first day, actually the second day in ICU, the surgeon came in and said, Tom, you lost everything from probably nipple line down, and to eat, someone's probably going to have to feed you. And he stared up at the surgeon, and the therapist was standing with a cracker, and Tom looked at the surgeon, looked at the cracker, reached up, grabbed the cracker, and bit it. And that's Tom.
In the whole history of the rehab center of Indianapolis, of people who had Tom's specific injury, not one of them in the month stay in rehabilitation had ever done a push-up. Tom, I believe on day 25, was able to do 5.
Between probably 2 months. I went train him a couple times. I didn't see him for 2 months, and got to train him again, and his strength is doubled.
I was by myself, and I fell out of the chair, and you're dealing with it's 1.5 feet from the floor to the chair, and it's such an easy, it just looks so easy, but when you take away your legs and you take away that stuff, unbelievable. 2.5 hours later, I sat there still trying to figure out how to get my butt back up into the chair. Biggest frustration I've had so far to that point. But with that, it's like you take a breath and then you eventually do it, and that frustration just goes all the way.
He always explains, I fell out of my chair, it took me an hour to get back into the chair today. A week later, I fell out of my chair, it took me 5 minutes to get back into the chair today. So it's not something that deters him, it drives him. And that's sort of his emotional drive, is if there's a brick wall in front of him, he realizes it and then readjusts and breaks through that wall.
This kind of attitude is the main reason why the Indiana athletic community has responded with such support. Tom's team, a foundation for Morris, was set up almost immediately. And to date, a 5-figure sum has been raised to help Morris and his wife, Christa, fund the cutting-edge rehabilitation programs, as well as make their house more handicap accessible. Soccer player Harrison Petts competed in a triathlon in Morris's name and raised close to $3,000 on his own. And now men's basketball coach Tom Crean is competing in the Infiniti Coaches Charity Challenge on ESPN, hoping to donate $100,000 to the Tom's Team Foundation.
People just don't come out of the woodwork with some strange guy or some guy that they didn't really care about. So to see the support on that end, it's a testament to his character.
I couldn't believe people were coming from Bloomington up to Indianapolis to visit me. And then they started a lot of these different fundraisers and different things, and just the amount of people that reached out to really, just see how I was doing and stuff like that was absolutely incredible, man. To say it was overwhelming is such an understatement, because it overwhelmed me so much that I totally forgot about having a broken neck.
The Hoosier family, the Hoosier community has been just overwhelming. There's not enough that we could say to explain to people how thankful we are. You just can't imagine the financial burden this puts on someone. Little things that Tom needs, big things that Tom needs, that it's hard. So this has helped us tremendously.
In early December, the men's soccer team made an improbable run to the national championship, knocking off the #1 and the #2 ranked teams. There was absolutely no way in his lifetime that Tom Morris was going to miss it. Morris hopped on a plane and flew down to Hoover, Alabama, to watch the Hoosiers win the national title, one they dedicated to him.
And again, what more in that moment of when you needed every bit of strength you had in you to look at his example and say, that's where our strength comes from.
People don't realize on the outside how much these teams are families, how much time we spend together, how much time we travel together. So when someone in your family goes down or someone in your team goes down, the slack needs to be picked up. There's passion that needs to be filled in. There's an energy that needs to be picked up. And that's the way that the soccer team took it. One of their brothers was down. So their passion picked up, their energy picked up, and it drove them.
I mean, it was just truly one of the greatest things I've ever been able to do, in my life, to get down there and see them, in the Final Four and see them win that national championship. Truly incredible, absolutely incredible.
Tom told me right after that, as his eyes were filling up in the car, he said this was the best day of my life.
I don't have any firsthand, knowledge of what the doctors have told him about his long-term prognosis. But if there is a 1% chance, a 0.1% chance, a 0.01% chance of Tom Morris ever getting back on that bike, Tom Morris is that 0.1%.
I would not put anything past Tom Morris to achieve. Absolutely not.
He had me get a bike out of our garage, and it's in our living room, because he feels if he stares at it and he concentrates on that, that's his goal. So he'll reach it. So, we have a bed and a bicycle in our living room, because he knows that he'll get there, and he will. It's Tom. He will eventually be back on a bike.
And normally you get an injury, especially in athletics, there's a timetable, there's a rehab. With his injury, they don't have answers. The only person that's going to have answers is Tom. And if his answer is he's going to ride a bike again, then that's what's going to happen.
Who can say if Morris will ever ride a bike again? But he believes that he will. And right now, that's a better indication than any medical prognosis. To help support Tom Morris and the Tom's Team Foundation, log on to ESPN and click Vote Now on the Infiniti Coaches Charity Challenge. The winner will receive $100,000 courtesy of ESPN, Infiniti, and NCAA basketball. In Bloomington, I'm Samantha Dewig for This is Indiana.